Hello, everybody. Welcome to Module 4. I hope you guys had a great day today. I'm very excited about Module 4 today. We are going to be rocking it out with celebrating child growth. Nothing's gonna bring me down. Never give it up, gotta go. Yeah, I'll keep getting stronger. If what I am is what's in me, then I'll stay strong, that's who I'll be. And I will always be the best me that I can be. There's only one me, I admit. Have a dream, I'll follow it. It's up to me to try. I'ma keep my head up high, keep on reaching high, never gonna quit, I'll keep getting stronger, and nothing's gonna bring me down, never gonna stop, gotta go, because I know I'll keep getting stronger, and what I am is what I am is what I am is. Hi, Leola. Welcome to the 30-hour stars training, you guys. We're going to get ready to start here soon. So jump on in. For all my newbies, I'm going to be putting a couple of links in the chat group. So take a look at those. If you have not heard this song before, it is one of my favorite songs to play for the kids. It's by Will I Am. And it is called What I Am. It is an awesome song to just build kids' self-esteem and just remind them who they are. If what I am is what's in me, then I'll stay awesome. All right, you guys, I'm just pulling up some things here for us. And I'll be posting some fun stuff in the chat group tonight. Have a dream, I'll follow it. It's up to me to try. I'm gonna keep my head up high. Keep on reaching high. Never gonna quit. I'll keep getting stronger. And nothing's gonna bring me down. Never gonna stop, gotta go. Because I know I'll keep getting stronger. And what I am is 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 what I am is. There's nothing I can't achieve because in myself I believe in those. Gonna keep on heads up high, keep on reaching high. Never gonna quit, just keep getting stronger. Ain't nothing gonna bring us down. Never giving up, gotta go down. Because I know I'll keep getting stronger. What I am is what I am is what I am is what I am is what you are is what you are is. Nothing I can't achieve because of myself. I believe in you. Hold on, my head up high. Keep on reaching high. I'm never gonna stop. I'll keep getting stronger. Nothing's gonna bring me down. Never give it up, gotta go. Yeah, I'll keep getting stronger. Right. All right, it is 7 o'clock, you guys. So we are going to start here shortly. And we will go from there. Have a dream, I'll follow it. It's up to me to try. I'ma keep my head up high, keep on reaching high. Never gonna quit, I'll keep getting stronger. and nothing's gonna bring me down. Never gonna stop, gotta go, because I know I'll keep getting stronger. And what I am is what I am is what I am is what I am is
all right.
what I am is what I am is. There's nothing I can't achieve because in myself I believe in those. Gonna keep my heads up high, keep reaching high. Never gonna quit, just keep getting stronger. Ain't nothing gonna bring us down. Never giving up, gotta go, because I know I'll keep getting stronger. What I am is what I am is what I am is what I am is what you are, yeah. What you are, yeah. Nothing I can't achieve because of myself.
All right, this link is for all of my newbie teachers. So if you have not filled this form out, please fill it out, because we are getting towards the end of our 30 hours, which is really nice. So we want to make sure you guys have all the right documentation and everything.
And I'll stay strong, that's who I'll be. And I will always be the best me that I can be. There's only one me, I am it. Have a dream, I'll follow it. It's up to me to try. I'ma keep my head up high, keep on reaching high. Never gonna quit, I'll keep getting stronger. And nothing's gonna bring me down. Never gonna stop, gotta go, because I know I'll keep getting stronger. And what I am is 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 what I am is. There's nothing I can't achieve because in myself I believe in those.
All right, I'm going to start us off with a question here. And I'm going to have you reply directly under that that question. So we'll start off with some questions.
Nothing I can't achieve because of myself. I believe in those. Going on with my head up high. Keep on reaching high.
I hope you guys had a great day today.
Nothing's gonna bring me down. Never give it up, gotta go. Yeah, I'll keep getting stronger.
Oh, Leola, so we are doing this tomorrow. So we've been doing it for the last 4 days. And basically what will happen, I'm actually going to turn that off because we are going to get started. So basically what we're going to be doing, we're doing the 30-hour STARS training. And for those, hi, Heather. For those that, and oh, hey, Maya. So for those that are working on their 30-hour STARS training, so it is the basics, fundamentals for early childhood education. And basically what you would do is you would log in 4 to 5 times out of the week. You'll finish modules 1 through 5. And then we're going to meet in class on the 24th. We have a couple of them. Some people are in a class that's going to be on the 17th, and there's one on the 24th. So KinderCare is on the 24th, and Little Scholars and a couple other centers are going to be on the 17th, which is both Sundays. Typically, I don't do very many trainings on Sundays, but because everybody is needing this 30-hour STARS training, and it was just a huge want, we went ahead and just did it on Sunday, so that way we can get it out of the way. We have some other classes that we're going to be coming up. We have a 10-hour STARS training. It is really awesome. It is called the 3 levels of coaching. I will tell you this. This is one of my favorite trainings I've done. And basically, we are actually using Sesame Street. They have a whole platform of new videos that have come out to help kids understand how to deal with trauma. And what we're going to be looking at is how do we coach the family, how do we coach the child, and how do we coach the educator? And the reason why is because sometimes we're not asking the right questions and we're not digging deep enough, and those roadblocks, they actually hinder us from making those connections. So it's pretty awesome. I'm really excited about it. Then we're also going to have a CDA course. So this is a Child Development Associates program. It's 120 hours. Yes, I'm going to be that dramatic, you guys. 120 hours. So it's 120 hours, and we'll do it all online. We're going to be exploring so many different topics. Some of the classes will be closed because of the things that we'll be talking about. And we want teachers to share. We want teachers to open up and tell us what they're feeling, what they're going through, what do they need help with. All of that information, I really take it and I actually try to work with other directors to come up with different plans. Not specifically your own director, but people that are working in these areas, and basically we're all struggling with the same thing, you know. And so it's like a matter of figuring out how do we make change happen, you know. So I'm absolutely excited about it. I want to do some little housekeeping pieces because I know you guys are getting close to the end of your 30 hours STARS training. So we're on module 4. So the way this works is you log into Facebook, you will go to my page, The Learning Project. You will meet at 7 p.m. When you come at 7 p.m., we will be kicking off these trainings. You will fill out a evaluation form or entrance form. You'll fill it out there, go to the link, pay for it. You will participate in class online. And then once you complete that piece, then we go a step further, and we will either meet face to face, or we'll complete the training online. The type of training that I'm really interested in right now is conversational training. I don't even think that's a real term. However, that is the best way to describe my own training style. I love having conversations with teachers because you guys are the ones that are on the floor, right? You know, you can have thousands of ideas, and people can share different things, but until you're actually in those shoes and you're in that class and in that situation, sometimes it can be kind of difficult for people to understand what you're really going through. So today we are going to be focusing on celebrating child growth. And what we're going to be looking at is understanding the importance of observation and assessment and how it shapes curriculum. So I'm very excited about this because curriculum is my thing. Anyone that knows me knows that I absolutely love curriculum. I love how to set up classes. I like looking at colors. I like looking at design. I like looking at all of that great stuff. So what I want to do first is do a little poll here. I'm still learning Facebook Live. So for those that are on this first group here, you guys are like my guinea pigs, and you guys are basically helping me understand how this would work with our platform. And so I have a little pop quiz question here for our training, and want to get that up. So for those that are probably looking for the assessment too, you're probably like, where is the assessment at? Because usually I have those way before the class starts. I wanted to make some changes on the one that I want to send out to you guys. So pretty much right after class, like give me about 30 minutes, and you will actually have that pop up for you. So just to give you a heads up now. So I have a poll that's going to pop up here, and it's supposed to pop up. I don't know if you guys can quite see it right now. However, if you don't see it, let me see. Okay. So if you don't see this, oh, there it goes, it popped up. So to be an effective observer, you first must understand normal and typical child growth and development. True or false? So go ahead and hit true or false on this. Let's test your knowledge. Awesome. Everybody knows their stuff. I'm very happy about that. So in order to be an effective observer, you really need to understand child development. So the couple of modules that we've done, we've been looking at how children develop. What kind of environment do they need? How do we support families? How do we connect with families? Those are all different pieces that fall into how to help children grow. So I want to know, you can go right down to the chat box. What is one thing that you did today that you felt helped a child to grow? So just go right into that chat box. If you're just joining us, hello. So the way this works for those that are just jumping on, you guys are going to participate in the chat box. You're going to listen to a lot of great lectures, hopefully. And then hopefully one day we'll actually be able to screenshot my slides that I have. So that's our next thing that we're going to do. We're going to cross our fingers. So I want to know, for the question that we're going to start off with, what is one thing that you have done today to help a child grow? If you're not quite in class yet, and maybe you're just starting off and you're like, I don't even know. If you have your own children, you can even talk about that too. What's one thing that you have done to help a child grow? So while you guys are writing and all that great stuff up, I want to talk to you a little bit about licensing. What are some of the things that they are requiring? So we are now required to show some type of documentation of some type of screening that we do with children, showing that we are documenting and also keeping track of where they're at, and then also offer some type of parent-teacher conference or some kind of sit down for families to come and learn about their child's growth and development. So this will actually be a part of a child's file. So if licensors want to come and check it out, that is something that they will need to do. Yesterday, when we did module 3, I put a really cool link into the assessment, and it talked about the CDC. And basically it had a milestone chart. So on the milestone chart, it talks about all of these different areas where children are growing. And also we talked about red flags. So once we understand how a child develops and we understand what's the next step, then we go to the next part, which is doing proper observation so that we can actually put certain things in place so that a child can be successful in our classroom. So let's see what we have here. I think somebody posted. Oh, right. Oh, awesome. Mariah said, preparing a healthy lunch and snuggling and listening. This is a huge thing. I'm very glad that you said that, Mariah. I'm giving you like a whole bunch of hearts right now. The reason why is because when children are hungry and they're not getting the right nutrition, there are certain things that happen in their body. I mean, it's crazy. In my 120 hour CDA class, there's actually a podcast that I did with my brother-in-law. Shout out to Titus McMillan, who is a PhD counselor. I mean, just a wealth full of knowledge. And we were discussing about how certain foods actually cause certain moods. They actually cause certain behaviors for certain kids. And so, you know, that can contribute to a child's behavior. And so giving them a healthy lunch is really important. And also remember this too, sometimes when kids are coming to our center, they are getting the only meal from us. So, you know, those kids that are like eating a lot or taking extra scoops, sometimes that might be their only meal. That's not always. There's some kids that enjoy food. I enjoy food, so I love to eat. And if you have a really good cook or nutritionist, as I say, you're going to be eating quite a bit anyway. So But the point that I'm getting to with Mariah's, with her comment, is really making sure they have those healthy meals, making sure you give them snuggles and you listen to them. Kids will tell you what's going on in their world. And sometimes even when it doesn't make sense or they're not able to put certain things together, they're going to try to communicate that as best they can. So I definitely would say that is a great thing that you did. So good job today. Heather, so today she was an infant and one of the babies is just starting table food, and she made sure to cut it up into small pieces and show them how to eat the food that was on their tray. And they even used a spoon. Awesome. So I love that. Teaching them how to eat. That is so cool. Hi, Larissa. What did you do today? So there is a new 2.5-year-old, and I got to spend some time with her. I felt like the first time she had a ton of fun, a ton of growth in that. Oh, right. Okay. So sorry, I can't really see right now, guys, because I got all these lights like shining in my eyes. So it said, I feel like the first time has a lot of fun and growth. Great. We build blocks and we got to know her, and she's sweet. That's awesome. Like, that is helping a child grow. Just like stopping and taking that time with them and just listening to them, exactly what Mariah was saying. And you guys, those little acts, oh my gosh, those little acts, they take so much time. Like, I don't know if you guys agree with me on this, but some of the steps and the skills that we have to teach kids, they are so tedious and they have a lot of steps in between and they're very time consuming. But wow, like, how precious is it for us to take that time and just teach them and help them learn how to use something like a spoon, how to, build blocks, and just take that time to connect with them and let them know they're safe. Like, that is so important to a child. And you guys, kudos, great job today. One thing that I did today, my nephew was on the way to school and I just gave him lots of encouragement because he was not happy that I was not going to be at school today. But he was very excited to talk with me in the morning, and just taking the time out to listen to his stories. And every day he wants to be somebody new. So he's like Sonic the Hedgehog, or he's like Sonic the Hedgehog, the blue one. Like, there's all these different things that he says he is, and just going along with them and letting him use his imagination. I think it's just really sweet and precious. And I felt like that's important to him, and I want him to know it's important to me. So great job today, you guys. So let's rock and roll with all of this. So I want to teach you guys a simple acronym. It's called ORP, okay? So it's observe, reflect, plan, okay? So when we're talking about observing, reflecting, and planning, there's 3 things that I want you to remember. So in the observation piece, I want you to remember, what is the child doing and saying, okay? So a lot of times we just kind of jump into the observation and say, this is what a child needs. This is exactly how it should go. I want to back up though, just 1 second before I get to the 3-step process there. So learning outcomes for this class, you're going to be able to give examples of children developing at their own rate. You're going to be able to identify techniques for collecting child development information, and you're going to be able to describe professional behavior regarding confidentiality and referrals. So that's something that you will be able to do once you complete this training. So I want to go back to ORP, okay? So observe, reflect, and plan. So observe, what is the child doing and saying? Reflecting, this means what does it mean? That's what reflect means. What does it mean? So after you've gotten all of this information, what do you do with it? And then the last piece that we're going to talk about is plan. So what do I do to keep the learning going? Okay. So when you are thinking about what you do to keep that learning going, you are at this point thinking about how do I extend the learning, okay? This is really difficult for some teachers because their experience is very limited, okay? If you do not experience anything, you guys, how can you help build an experience in the classroom? One of the reasons that I love teaching about dinosaurs is because when I was little, I watched videos about dinosaurs. My teacher, we did a lot of crafts, and then they had like some kind of dino day or something like that, and like they set the gym up. I don't know why I remember this, but they set the gym up, and they had all these sixth graders have all these exhibits. I mean, they really put a huge amount of experience and effort to help us learn about dinosaurs and be a part of the learning process. So when you are looking at observing your kids and starting off your day with one child, you want to ask yourself, what do you really know about them, and what is the child doing and saying? So there's a couple of things I want to go over with you. But before I do that, I want to also just put in here for plan. So planning portion, I want you to think about how do you plan, okay? So for some centers, they have electronic devices that they do like their My Days on. So My Days are forms that you document the child's day on, and they give that to the family so that they have it. Now a lot of centers are starting to go digital. It makes it a lot easier for teachers because they can just punch in everything and they can send it to the family. The other part that's nice about some of these digital platforms is that you can actually document what you're teaching in the classroom. You can, I believe with some platforms, you can actually do it to an individual child, or you could do it to a whole group. So we are going to be looking at that piece. Another step that teachers do when it comes to planning, they have really cool journals that go over like their week, and they can just like do a teacher planner. I'm actually going to have a free teacher's journal on my website, as well as I'll post it into the Facebook group here as well, so that you can actually print off these papers, put it in a binder. Hopefully one day we'll make a binder, and that'll be kind of cool. But at least you'll be able to print it off and kind of plan out your week so that you know what you're doing with your children. And I think sometimes too, people are like, well, you know, I work with little babies, so I don't need to plan out my week. Plan stuff. When you plan things, you're more intentional. You know, you've spent a lot of time thinking about what your child needs, what they're going to be doing, and, you know, you're going to that next step. So the forms that I had posted in our assessment portion, and it has basically what a child can do, what should they be doing at certain ages, or you can use the one on the CDC milestone. You can use those pieces as goals to set up for kids and set up for different activities. So let's say that your goal, I want to take, who was that? Heather's example of her little one that she helped today, learning how to scoop, you know, food and chew food. So how much experience are they getting with this motion, right? So if they are scooping food, you know, eating, maybe you guys just put some random spoons in a little bowl or something, and they have to scoop water, or they have to scoop something soft, you know, make sure that it's not a choking hazard, you guys, but giving them that opportunity to scoop. And it doesn't have to be baby spoons too, because sometimes there's really cool big spoons that you can use too. And so, you know, think about how can they use this motion daily and practice it. I love what Larissa was saying, you know, they built blocks. So how can you maybe set that up where you're like, you know what, she needs to work on counting, you know, and you know what we're going to do? We're going to measure blocks. Like, how big can we make these blocks and these blocks? And maybe you're talking about numbers and you're counting. You're doing all of those pieces. That is like your first part, your square. And then what Mariah was saying, which was, you know, preparing a really healthy meal. So, you know, maybe you have your little one and you're going to be talking about words, you know, what are the words that you're using to create a meal, such as like bread or cheese or tomato, and maybe they can write it out. Maybe they make their own recipe book. I mean, there's so many different things that you can do with kids to help extend that learning and make that learning so personal. And I know, what I'm saying is like, if it was in a perfect world, everybody would be doing it. But I think it's a matter of being planful and being intentional, and also being quick and being able to multitask. When you are working in our field, you cannot wait for prompts. You cannot wait for people to tell you what to do. You got to jump in there and you've got to get your hands dirty. And that also means sometimes you're maybe not sure, about what you're doing. And maybe the person you're working with, they actually have a little bit more experience than you. Don't let that intimidate you. Take the time to say, I'm here, I'm available, I'm a teacher, I want to grow. How can I do this? When you show that you are very open and you are jumping into different situations and you're open to it, teachers love that, and that's a great way to bond with them, to let them know that I'm here. And if you need me, let's do it, So let's go back to our 3-step process. ORP. Observe, reflect, and plan, okay? You want to plan to keep that learning going. So we did our observation. I think you guys did a great job talking about one thing that you did to help a child grow today. So that would be our observation. And it's so funny how you guys were like talking about them, because you're like, oh, well, they're learning how to scoop food. That's a great observation. How much time are they going to need? What do they need to learn how to scoop even more? And then even when Larissa was talking about, getting this little one that's new adjusted and help build that trust, that's extremely important. That might be your first step with that child. So let's go ahead and keep going. So we're going to look at, let's see here, a discussion question. I would love to just have you answer. So how are observation and knowledge of individual development connected? So we're going to talk about that. So observation is your own viewpoint. It's what you see from that child. The knowledge of the individual development, you're going to get that information most likely from the family. And remember, I talked about those assessments that are required now for families to fill out, or the surveys. You could either do the one through the CDC, or you could do the Strengthening Families one. And it basically allows the family to give you feedback about the child and where they are in their development and what they see them doing. Because sometimes kids don't do certain things that they do at home. You may have a kid that's extremely shy and they may choose not to do anything in class. But then when they get home, they're like, ah! And then like the parents like, I can't believe they're not saying anything. I can't believe they're not talking. That sometimes is how the child is, and that's just what it is. So we have to kind of get both pieces and we have to connect them together. Okay. So let's keep going. There is another discussion question here that we can cover, but I feel like we've talked about it already, so I'm not going to go over it. Let's talk about why for observation. Why do we need to observe? So when we look at why we need to observe children, we want to look at observation from a different lens. We don't want to use observation to compare children, but we want to use observation to look at an individual child's temperament, development, learning style, and experiences, and family background. Those are things that are extremely important. When you get your observational pieces together, then you begin to understand how to help a child develop. And we're going to use a really great term. It's called scaffolding, okay? Our interactions are going to be kind of based off of that. So scaffolding is when you have, it's like almost like a 3-step process, right? So the child has like a goal, maybe it's scooping, right? And then maybe you teach them how to scoop on scoop with help, right? Like they're helping scoop. And then maybe you make an activity of them scooping cotton balls, right? Because they're learning how to scoop, something. Of course, you wouldn't do that for infants because cotton balls are a choking hazard. But this is the best example I can come up with. So you're scooping cotton balls, right? And then maybe the next level to build off of that learning, maybe you have them start scooping maybe different foods into a bowl. Maybe you're having them count those foods and scoop each number into a different bowl. So you're taking that skill and you're developing it even the more, okay? One of the things that I want you to remember is that scaffolding process is going to look very different depending on the child, and each child is so different. Sometimes they are taking leaps and sometimes they're taking little baby steps, but you're looking for that mastery. So each time you are showing a child something, how are they mastering that, and how can you go to the next step so that you can actually even create a more complex or help them get to the next step in their development. I would like to also talk to you a little bit about teachers benefit from observation. So when you observe, you're actually building up each child. You're also saying that you are respecting that child. You're building trust. And then also you are looking at their unique way of development and you are embracing that. So when you take the time to stop and observe a child, you are saying that child matters, and you are saying your development matters. And I know what we do is super crazy. It's busy. Everybody's going left, right, all over. But you've got to slow down enough to actually be present in your classroom. And all the examples that you guys have given me this morning or this afternoon is exactly what I'm talking about. Being present, looking at the child, figuring out what can you do to help them grow in that moment. So let's keep going. There is, let's see here. We have a lot of great stuff, you guys. So I want to go into types of observation because everybody has different types of observation depending on the learning center that you're at, depending on the curriculum you use, depending on your mission, your vision of your center. There are some people that are extremely passionate about, sorry guys, extremely passionate about children having high self-esteem about themselves. So they're going to be doing a lot of social and emotional assessments. Some centers are very focused on academic pieces. It's all going to depend, you guys. So let's talk about the different types of observation forms. So one is a checklist. This is just like a basic form, and it will say like, I'm making something up. Can a child run? Yes or no? And it will say yes. Can this child jump rope? Yes or no? Yes. It's a checklist. It's really simple, and you will usually put the child's first and last name, the age of the child, and the date that you conducted the observation. Okay. The next part that you will see as an observation is a running record. So this is a narrative account when you write about a child and you write about them in detail. So like, for example, they'll say like 3 o'clock, child ran around the circle and was able to sit down very quietly and had lots of body control after running and moving very fast. 2:30 or 3:30. I just went backwards. 3:30. Child is able to share with students and was sharing a sandwich and cut the sandwich in half and gave half to the child and half to themselves, was able to explain why it's important to share. I mean, all of those pieces are running records. Sometimes people will even do this, like they'll just watch a child play. We're actually going to get a chance to explore with some of these observational pieces in the assessment that I'll post afterwards. You guys, please remember, you need to watch the video and do the assessment. If you don't do the assessment, you're not going to get credit for this. Okay. So make sure that you do it. The tally events. So this is a list that helps you know how often something is happening during that day. So maybe you say, I'm just making something up, a child hitting, right? And you just basically write, like you're making like lines, and then you're just basically checking off each time they do that. Hopefully it's not that many times, but it could be. And if that's the case, then that's how you do that. The second or the next one is called photo and videotaping. This is probably my favorite type of observation. A lot of online My Day forms actually allow you to take pictures and video of a child. I think those are wonderful to use for parent-teacher conferences, observational pieces when you want to go back and review what a child is doing and how they're doing it. It is awesome. I think it is so cool to be able to go back and look at something a couple times, because sometimes when you are super busy and you don't even realize a child is doing something until they actually do it, and then you're like, oh, I didn't even realize that happened. But because you were able to go back and review that video, I think that's where you find a lot of those connecting pieces. So let's talk about our next section. Oh, you know what? I do want to mention this. So if you're using an online platform, there is a really cool platform called Teaching Strategies Goal. I know a lot of centers are using this right now. It is phenomenal. It basically has like a bunch of milestones set up. You take pictures of a child doing those things. It sorts it for you. It prints everything. I mean, it's amazing. I have only seen it. I haven't experienced it, just because a lot of the centers that I work with or I have worked at, they have their own system, but I feel like that's a really good system from what I have seen. And it's really easy for teachers to use as well. So it allows you to kind of organize all of those portfolio pieces in a lot easier way versus taking a picture and writing a note on the back and then trying to put it somewhere. It just does everything for you. So it's pretty cool. So check it out if you have a chance. So recording and documentation of data is very important part of any system. We collect the information to help us build portfolios, have conversations with families. These pieces are confidential, okay? So when you're looking at a child's growth and development, you do not want to have vital pieces out and about. For example, you don't want to have pieces about, this child is struggling in this area, and now, we're going to start working on this piece. It just really can make a child feel kind of sad about themselves, and then also put families on edge. So you want to think about what you are posting and how you're posting it. I know at my center, I try to do a lot of portfolio pieces on the board to help teachers be accountable for their portfolios, as well as I want to show families that, we do a lot of documentation. I know there's a lot of other centers that kind of do something very similar, but it just really depends on the center and what their goals are and what their philosophy is. I want to make something really clear, because I think sometimes people get caught up on what type of philosophy or what type of curriculum is the best. There is no answer to this. And you know what? There is no center or curriculum that's better than the other. It's going to really depend on the teacher. If the teacher is able to connect with that curriculum and they're able to blossom that curriculum, I think that is where you're going to see the true curriculum come out. But every child is so different. One hat does not fit all. So, one curriculum may not be great for a group of kids, but that same curriculum can be used and it's amazing for those other kids. So, keep in mind, as you are doing these observational pieces that can seem super overwhelming, I want you to remember that you're doing this for the kids. You're doing this to help build better curriculum in your class, or better experiences in your class. And you want to share that information with the family so that they know how you're extending that learning. So remember those 3 words? Do you guys remember the acronym or the letters that I put together? The 3? Let's see if anybody knows. What are they? Anybody remember? I'll put a little poll here. Maybe somebody can remember. What are the 3 letters? Let's see. Let's see if you guys remember them. Okay. See if we can remember them, you guys. Yes, Heather. Woo, woo, woo. Good job, Mariah. Okay, that's right. Observe, reflect, plan. You guys, that is your secret weapon. Put it in your pocket, because this is the thing. If you remember those 3 things and you live by them and you constantly refresh your mind with that, you are going to actually, I think, be more effective in the classroom. I feel like every teacher that I've seen, observe them and watch them, they understand that piece and they go back to the drawing board to figure out what a child needs in order to be successful. So please remember that, and please remember that all of this information is confidential. So if you ever have like another family or member, even a family member, this is a good one because this will happen. A family member will come up to you and say, hey, how is Johnny doing in class? There are certain things you cannot release without family's permission, okay? So if you have some random Joe Smo, maybe like another parent, this is another great one, another parent that wants to know about another child, you can't release that information. And the reason why is because you want to keep that child safe. If you are releasing information about a child, you could be putting them in danger. And then also too, you could be creating a really negative bias about that child. There are kids every day that have certain things that they struggle with, but they should never be victims or a target for families because that child is struggling with different things. We all struggle with things, and it's important we protect their confidentiality. So ongoing assessment and observation is extremely important. It really shows your own professionalism. It shows your commitment to children, and it shows that you're intentional every single day. So having a current and daily schedule of activities and lesson plans that are designed to fit children's development, cultural, and individual needs is really going to set them up for success, and it's going to set you up for success as a teacher. You're going to feel so proud of yourself when you have done all this work and you see these kids really flourishing and just doing amazing things. And so please keep that in mind as you are going through this process. So I want to also talk a little bit about different things that help with observation that you can set up as far as classroom management in your class. So having lesson plans, this is a requirement by Washington state law. You need to have your lesson plans put up in your classroom, okay? Another thing is daily schedule. What are they doing? What are the events? What times are they doing those? I really encourage to have like the schedule written out and put on a parent board, and then you actually write out the schedule and you put like real pictures. Some centers, they allow like cartoonish characters. Some centers are like, absolutely not, we have to have real life pictures, and they put them right by that that schedule so that the child knows what is coming next. The other thing that I want to just let you know, when you allow your children to have opportunities to explore and learn in an environment that is intentional and is planned out because you observe a child doing great things, they gain self-esteem, they gain awareness, self-control, and they also learn to make better decisions, even if it's like, asking them, what do they think about the dinosaur land that they've created, and what can we add to it? What do you know about a T-Rex? I mean, there's so many things that you can ask to kind of learn more about that child so that you can add more into your classroom. Also too, I want to just remind you that every child has different needs, and there's some needs of other children that you're going to have to I would say adjust because they're at a different level than another child. So I want to talk a little bit about objective words and subjective words. So objective words are words like accountable, truthful, observational. Subjective are more opinionated, judgment, assumptions, beliefs, rumors, or suspicions. So remember this, subjectives suck. They're horrible. Don't be subjective, okay? Objective are great because you can see them. This is the thing I always tell people. If you are doing an observation, if you do not physically see it with your own two eyes, you cannot write about it, okay? You cannot say a child was sad and was crying unless that child says, I'm sad because my friend didn't do something with me, right? And they're crying. And that child has to vocalize that feeling and that emotion. Because we all know if you cry, it doesn't mean that you're sad all the time. Sometimes you're happy. Sometimes you're frustrated. Sometimes you are scared. You know, there's so many different things. So when we put children's emotions in a box and we say, this is the way you feel because you're crying, you're teaching them really that there's only one way to feel that emotion, and that is not accurate, you know? And so there's going to be an activity in your assessment that's going to go over practicing objective and subjective observations and things like that. Tell one thing that's hard for you about observation. What are some of those things that are really hard? And you guys can just type right in the chat box there, right below.